this meeting of the Technical Coordinating Committee at 2:32 p.m. Please now give your attention to this short video.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should mute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice for public comment guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Thank you very much for that. Christina, will you now please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Member Armio? Member Ballinger?
Here.
Member Boardman? Member Chen?
Here.
Member Conradi? Member Diaz?
This is the alternate member Diaz for member Diaz.
Excellent, thank you. Member Dillard?
Here.
Member Doe?
Here.
Member Fahey?
Here.
Member Greenblatt?
Here.
Member Cursivan? Member Knapp?
Here.
Member Nelson? Member Panganaban? Member Reeves?
Here.
Member Rawani?
Here.
Member Saravana? Member Thompson? Member Weeks?
Here.
Member Singh? Member Wang? And Chair Stamps.
Here, thank you very much. Oh, we have a quorum, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is public comment. The Contra Costa Transportation Authority does not condone hate speech in any form. We continually strive to make life better for all members of our community and create an atmosphere where everyone feels a sense of safety and belonging. We ask that anyone who wishes to speak does so with civility, respect, and kindness for others. Christina, have we received any written public comment?
No, we've received no written public comment.
All right, thank you. And is there anyone wishing to speak during public comment on an item that is not a part of the agenda? If so, please raise your hand and staff or I will call upon you. I don't think there's anybody.
No hands raised.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next item. The next item on the agenda is the election of chair and vice chair for 2024 to 2026. Historically, the vice chair would fill the chair seat, which is Andy Dillard. For the vice chair seat, the rotation calls for a transplant member, which would be Steve Cursivan or Kevin Rawani. Do I have a nomination for chair?
I'll nominate
This is Leah Greenblatt. I'll nominate Andy Dillard.
Great, thank you, Leah. And do I have a nomination for vice chair?
Do you need a second for the chair?
I think we'll do the vote next. Is there a nomination for vice chair?
I think you need a second.
We were going to do it all in one bundle.
I'd nominate Steve Kersevan for vice chair.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. It has been Andy Dillard, and Andy Dillard has been nominated by Leah Greenblatt as chair, and Steve Kersevan has been nominated as vice chair by Kevin Rouhani. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you very much, Jason. Now that we have a second, Christina, can we please conduct the roll call vote?
Yes, who was our first from?
So oh, you know what? I'm sorry. There were nominations. I should have asked for a motion. So can we back up, please? Sorry, people. I'm fumbling it real bad on my last day. So we have Andy Dillard's nominated for chair. Steve Kersevan is nominated for vice chair. Can we please get a motion for those nominations?
Oh, I got it. I'll move. This is
Thank
Leah.
you so much, Leah, for saving me. And Jason, do you want to maintain your second? Okay, thank you very much. So it's been properly moved by Leah Greenblatt, seconded by Jason Chen. Christina, now may we please get the roll call vote?
Yes. Member Ballinger,
Yes.
Member Chen,
Yes.
Member Diaz,
Yes.
Member Dillard,
Yes.
Member Doe, Member Doe,
Yes.
Member Fahey,
Yes.
Member Greenblatt,
Yes.
Member Knapp,
Yes.
Member Reeves,
Yes.
Member Rouhani,
Yes.
Member Weeks.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously with the members present.
Great, thank you very much, Christina. And I will now pass the microphone over to Chair Dillard. Right, or no? I don't keep going, do I?
I thought I resumed in 24, but
Oh, do I keep going?
heard of Christina on that.
No, I mentioned on the script that you would now take the meeting from here.
Oh, okay. All right. Enjoy, Andy.
Thanks. Well, I'd like to say thank you to Jamar for doing an awesome job the last couple of years. So thank you, Jamar.
Thank you very much for the kind words, and thank you, TCC members, for your support. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. Are there any changes, comments from the committee, or would anyone like to pull an item? No, hearing none. Have we received any written public comments, Christina?
No, we've received no written public comments.
Okay, do we have any members of the public who would like to speak?
I see no hands raised.
Okay, so due to the size of the technical coordinating committee, we will handle a motion and roll call vote after the last regular agenda item has been presented. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to regular agenda items. The first item on the agenda is informational item presented by Stephanie Hugh, who's going to provide our standing item on project monitoring. Stephanie?
Yeah. Thanks, Andy, Chair Dillard. Yes, this is our standing item that happens every time we meet as TCC. I'll just share my screen to see one of the attachments. So what we monitor, as you know, is STIB, OBAG, ATP, and the inactive projects that need to invoice Caltransfer. But I would like to point your attention to the OBAG projects because it affects the more of us on the committee. In attachment B is the table from cycle 2 and 3. But I'll focus on cycle 2 first because there are still remaining projects that need to receive obligation from FHWA, and they're originally programmed in fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23. There still are a few, I want to zoom in, hopefully you guys can see. There are a few noted in the highlights that still need to receive their E76 basically. MTC had extended the obligation deadline last year, recognizing there are actually a lot of folks that have not received their E76. So the current deadline for the OBAG 2 projects shown on the first 2 pages of the attachment B, I'm sorry, is January 30th, 2024. So that's a date where you should be having your E76 in hand. With exception, with those noted in red, those are projects that receive quick strike funding, and that obligation deadline has actually passed, and that was September 30th, 2023. And we have one project from City of Richmond for the 13th Street Complete Streets project, and that's still working through right-of-way issues and have missed that September deadline for obligation. And staff has met with MTC and city staff to continue to monitor and make sure the funding isn't in jeopardy. So far, MTC has been working with us on maintaining the funding. The other note for this attachment is on page 3 is the list of OBAG 3 projects that are now all in the TIP, and they cover fiscal year 24 through fiscal year 26. So staff will start monitoring these projects more closely, and these projects just been added to this table since the programming in the TIP or the FMS and then the TIP was recently completed. And then lastly is our table for the inactive projects. So if you have a project here from your jurisdictions, please do invoice Caltrans and note all the notes that have been included in the table. Then those are from Caltrans. And with that, I will take any questions, and it is an information item, so no action needed from the committee.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there any comments from the committee? No? Have we received? Oh,
Sorry, I see no hands raised.
no hand raised, no public comments. Okay, thanks, Stephanie. So the next agenda item, also presented by Stephanie. This is a item seeking approval of the 3-year project study reports list for fiscal year 23-24 to fiscal year 25-26.
Thanks, Chair. So yes, Stephanie again, and we are seeking your review and approval for this list of projects that are going to become in a work plan that we will send to Caltrans that covers needs for project study reports in the years covering fiscal year 24 through fiscal year 26. So each year they ask the CTAs or each county for this work plan. It's just more for their resource planning to see what is coming up in the horizon for them to staff on this project if a PID is required. You may recall that if you do want to go after STIF funding, a PSR or a PSR equivalent is needed. And for those projects that are in the Caltrans right away, the formal PSR process through Caltrans is required. And then the project sponsors are also responsible to paying for their staff time for their oversight effort to develop the PSR. So in attachment A, which maybe I'll just share that so we can all see, it's a list that staff has prepared. We used last year's plan and basically went through them and reached out to jurisdictions to see if they have projects that want to be added onto this PSR list. And in order to be on the list, the project needs to be in the Regional Transportation Plan or the RTP. So what is red is noted as changes from last year's list. The strikeouts are those that are either completed, in progress in terms of the PID, or no longer pursued. And so we've spoken to, for example, WCTAG on, I think they cover most of it here on this list that are struck out. Either they're actually being started on with MTC or is no longer pursued. And one project that did get added is the bus rapid transit between Antioch and Brentwood. And that is for the sponsor would be Tri-Delta Transit, and they're interested in look at BRT along the SR4 area between Antioch and Brentwood. So that's one project that was added to the list. Everything else in black is from last year, and we did update the dates a little bit, like move it to the following fiscal year if we didn't think it would be moved forward and just come the year coming up. Or actually, we're in fiscal year 23-24. So minor changes to those projects in black. So happy to take any questions. Yeah, seeking your approval, review comments, and what other projects you think you want to add, please let us know. And this isn't a list that can't be changed. Like I said, every year we revisit this. And for some reason you want to start a PID that's not on the list, you can totally do so. We just need to notify Caltrans. This is again for their resource planning, and then also provided the fact that you pay for their oversight and their work. I see Leah has a question.
Just a comment and a question. One is, I wanted to say the exciting news with all of our strikeouts here is that most of these have found some other agency that's going to be doing the work and advancing the project. So we're pretty happy about that. I am not intimately familiar with the Caltrans process. What's the relationship between the PID and the PSR is one question. Is the PID just a list of everything that we want PSRs for?
Okay. Finish your question, sorry.
Okay, and then my other question is, because I don't have this intimate knowledge of Caltrans stuff, I'm wondering, can the CCTA help us advance the remaining projects, and help kind of guide us on what to do next?
So your first question, PID is the project initiation document. It is a phase in the Caltrans process. So that's a planning document, and a type of PID is a PSR, project study report. And I guess we've been using it interchangeably, so maybe that's confusing. And after PID is PAED, that's project approval environmental document. That's what we normally known as the environmental clearance phase. And after PAED is PSNE, which we know what that is. So yeah, PID is a phase, and there can be different documents type within the PID phase. And one of which is PSR, the project study report. In terms of, and your second question was steps to start the PID or PSR process. Usually the project sponsor contacts Caltrans and hopefully us as well. We need to enter into a co-op, a way for them to charge the project sponsor really, and a cooperative agreement to talk about roles and responsibilities, the funding, who pays for what. And then your third question was if CCTA would be able to help get things started. Yeah, I think if you have a project that you would like us to start talking to Caltrans about, we'd be happy to, and even assist with maybe helping you guys develop the co-op, or maybe provide samples on the co-ops that we've done with them. So happy to initiate that for you guys if that helps. Oh, unshare so we can see each other.
Great. Is there any other questions for Stephanie in the committee on this item? No? Okay. Have we received any written comments?
We've received no written comments.
Anyone from the public like to speak? No?
I see no hands raised.
Okay. Thanks, Christina. Thank you, Stephanie. This is an action item, but we'll wait until the end of the meeting to take action on this one. Moving on to the next item, which will be presented by Matt Kelly. This is also an approval item seeking resolution of 2343G, which will adopt the 2023 Congestion Management Program update for Contra Costa County. Matt?
Let me get my camera situated here. And there we go. Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Dillard. Matt Kelly, Senior Transportation Planner with the Authority, here to present the always exciting topic of the 2023 update of the Congestion Management Program for Contra Costa. As you may or may not recall, I came to you earlier this year when we talked about the scope of work for this effort. And as you probably remember, CCTA treats this CMP update as a mostly as a technical effort, primarily because the requirements, the state level requirements of the congestion management program are fulfilled within our growth management program. So most of the activities that are called for in the CMP, like evaluating the effects of land use on the transportation system, that's in the action plans in our growth management program. But we do take advantage or take advantage of the plan to do things like the monitoring of the CMP network, which I think is maybe the next item today. And then we also make sure that the document is up to date and consistent with the current RTP. So our previous CMP, which was in 2021, was consistent with the Plan Bay Area 2040 RTP. So this one was updated to be consistent with Plan Bay Area 2050. The other primary effort out of this CMP was the update of the CTPL, the project database. And most of you probably remember that I came around to the RTPCs in September to remind everyone to update their projects. The database required updating by the project sponsor so we can put together the CIP, which is one of the required elements of the CMP. So we thank you to those of you in the room who updated projects, and your coworkers who also were in there updating the projects. That we did get hundreds of updates. It significantly increased the budget of not the budget, but just the amount of projects, the total project cost of the CTPL, which is fine because it's unconstrained. We went from somewhere around 20 million last time. Somewhere around 20 to now about 46 million, or billion, I should say. And I'll say a lot of those costs came from things like Link 21 that BART added to the network, which is about, in the current version, it's at 9.1 billion, but it'll be updated to 9.4 billion for the final version based on comments from BART. And there's just a lot of multi-billion-dollar projects, both on the kind of rail side and still on the highway side. So it's good to have all those updates because we have a lot more new projects in the database that can now can now qualify for the RTP, the CTP, and other project lists. So you can find the full listing of the CIP at the very end of the CMP document, which is linked to from the agenda. I think it's attachment C, one that's linked. We only put the executive summary in the actual packet. So feel free to go there, scroll down to the end and look at the project list. There, it's organized by project sponsor and then by mode. We still can get some updates in there. I would say if your project is in there, that's probably good enough if you have some cost updates or status updates, that's great. I'll try and get them in. But the important part is that your project is in there. You can also, for those of you who have access to the online database, you should be able to log back into your account and see the new projects that you added and any other updates. So really that's our the main changes for this CMP was really just technical updates from the 2021 version. Do that project or the network monitoring, the project updates, and the consistency with the RTP. And then I'll just add that we documented as much as we could of our model update that's going on right now, because one of the CMP requirements is having a model that's consistent with MTC's model. And that's why we're updating our models, so we can be more consistent with MTC. So that's my presentation. I can take any questions, and yeah.
Great, thanks, Matt. Do we have any questions from the committee? Leah?
I'd love it if somebody else had some questions. So one, I need a refresher, Matt. I think I probably asked this earlier when you first came around with the CMP information, but as I looked through the report, I noticed like, oh, there's no intersections on the Richmond Parkway. And I understand that the network was developed a long time ago. Maybe somebody doesn't want it, but does that hurt the ability to seek funding for the parkway?
I would say no. Yeah, and the reason why I don't actually know the reason why there are no intersections there, because I wasn't around in 91, despite the color of my hair. Yeah, so and I would guess that the city of Richmond or San Pablo, whoever, or the county who has jurisdiction over some of those intersections, may not want to add intersections just because of the strings that come along with that. In terms of funding for that route, I would say that Richmond Parkway being a route of regional significance in the action plans is just as strong a designation as being part of the CMP network. I don't know of any funding sources or grants that specifically want you to be a part of the CMP network. If there are, I'm not aware of them. Yeah, but if you are a part of it, it's good to. It's certainly good to put that in your grant application. But I would say so is being a route of regional significance.
Okay, I have a couple of other questions. On figure 3, which is page 58 of the packet, in West County, there's one intersection that has an F. It's red, and I was wondering what intersection that was.
Oh, let's see if I can eyeball it. If not, I'll pull up my report. Sorry, was that AM or PM?
It's the PM.
Oh, that's right. There is only one. I think that is the kind of that might be that Barrett San Pablo I-80. Actually, that's 2 intersections, but it's one of those 2. Let me see if I can pull up the report here.
Where do I find that? Maybe.
Yeah, they're let's see. Sorry, oh, that is in the packet. Sorry, I've got too many documents open.
Maybe you can just point that to me.
Yeah, so there should be, I think it's in section 2 or 3. There should be a list of all the intersections with their level of service. So page like 84 of your packet of the PDF.
Okay, I will check that. Thank you.
Yeah, if something looks weird, oh, so it is San Pablo and Barrett.
Okay.
If
And
that
then
looks odd, you know, or you want to question it, let me know.
I have figure 4, and it's kind of like a comment throughout. I find it very hard to read what the segment LOSs are because the lines are so thin. Can I submit a comment to beef up those lines and make them?
So, so wait, are we talking about we're talking about
Figure 4 on page 59?
Yeah, all of a sudden we're talking about another item, I just realized. So the CMP monitoring report is different than the CMP itself today. So the things you're talking about are in the CMP monitoring. So I have
Oh, am I ahead?
Yeah.
An item ahead?
Yeah, I was right there with you, but then I realized, wait, I've got a PowerPoint that shows some of these things. Why am I not?
Okay, I'll be quiet then for now. Thank you.
Yeah, so no, let's definitely talk about it under the next item, or I think it's the next item. But any other questions on the CMP itself?
Apparently not.
Separate from the monitoring report?
I actually have a question, Matt, if
Yeah.
I may. And I know I've asked this before, but and similar to Leah's comment, because obviously there's no, we can talk about it more in the next item too, but there's, other than Interstate 680, there's no monitoring in South County. And kind of bringing this up for Chris's benefit too, since he's in his first year here. So is there any thought to, having this go in step with the NHS? I mean, you'd be eligible for federal funds. I mean, if you're on that system, but I'm assuming it wouldn't prohibit us from that by not being as part of this monitoring.
Right. I don't think not being a part of the CMP network would preclude you from being a part of something like the NHS. And also I don't know if this addresses your comment, but it goes kind of back to what one of Leah's questions, but in terms of the actual network. So, we do monitor these locations. And as you said, there are none in Southwest County other than the freeways. And that was intentional at the time based on, I think, SWAT's input on the CMP. However, we do have all these locations as part of our routes of regional significance and what was formerly the MTSO monitoring, which will now be the RTO monitoring, when we go out and monitor the action plan objectives. So the CMP network is basically a subset of the routes of regional significance. So we do monitoring on that larger set of the routes of regional significance. So in case, the question is, will there ever be monitoring done by the authority in whether it's Richmond Parkway or Southwest County intersections? It's done there.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, and thank you, Andy, for bringing it up for us. I think gets dealt with when we do our level of service analysis of the intersections down here, and we can provide that information if we're applying for a grant. And we have those routes of regional significance that are being laid out. We've gone over those lots and lots of times with you guys, and we're excited about seeing those in the new plans, so that'll be great. So, you know, unless there's a reason for us to get one, then I don't see why we should need to add it. But if you do find a reason to add one, we'd love to talk with you about it and see if there's a couple places that we could throw in there just so that they know there is indeed congestion down here, and some places there's very little, and some places there's a lot.
And I'll just say, Chris, it's not as much reasons for you to have one, but it's more about reasons for you to not have one. Not that I'm telling you this, but I think this is the perspective of the locals. When you do have a CMP intersection and you set a standard, you can set a standard of F if you'd like, but if you don't set it at F and it drop or you set it at D and it drops below that standard, you are then responsible for preparing a deficiency plan to mitigate that drop in level of service. So I think that was part of the reason why some folks didn't opt in originally, and why they don't now want to opt in.
Okay, that's fun. That's helpful. Thanks for that background.
Sure.
Great. Is any other comments from the committee on this item?
Oh, I had a question for Matt.
Celestine?
Matt, you mentioned the CTPL list is at the end of the CMP, or where can we see the printed list?
So if you look in the agenda, there's the attachments. I think it's the 3 attachments there. Oh, sorry, in my staff. Sorry, it's in the staff report. There's so on page 39. But the link is actually at the top of page 40. So if you go under attachment B, available for download at ccta.net, that should open up the full CMP with the CTPL listing at the end of the second.
It was also provided in the calendar invite for this meeting.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because I'm on the HTML like agenda site, and I see attachment A, but an attachment C, but no attachment B.
Yeah, it's just a link.
Oh, okay, on the
from the staff report.
Staff report.
Yeah, it's the only way we can post really large documents, or without including all 300 pages in the packet.
You said on page 3?
No,
It's the first page of the staff report where it lists the attachments.
and that's on page 39 of the agenda packet.
Okay, 39. Okay, I'll go look for it. Okay, thank you.
Sure. And just for reference, the project list starts on page 135 of the PDF that will open up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other comments from the committee?
I got one, Andy.
Yep, sure, Chris.
So under the transportation demand element in chapter 6, looks like we're still using that language TSM. Just it seems like that's pretty old. I don't know if anybody's really using that language anymore. Has there been a thought to just taking that over to TDM across the board?
I agree with you. The kind of unfortunate thing is it's memorialized in Measure J as TSM. So when we refer to kind of, in the checklist, it's still the model TSM, or under the growth management program, it's still model TSM ordinance as opposed to model TDM ordinance, even though you guys are doing TDM ordinances with our model TSM ordinance. So I wish I could change it, but I can't.
Okay. And then as far as we're going to be looking at kind of changing and updating our TSM, TDM ordinance at some point, that's something we can just report to you every couple of years when we're doing the GMP. If there are changes to it, just send them to you then.
Yes,
Probably.
transmit any updates to the TSM.
Okay.
I mean, we would appreciate you transmitting TSM updates as they occur.
Okay, that's clear.
And then you would report it in your checklist.
Okay, thank you. Stupid question, but it just, whenever I see TSM, like, that's archaic language, but okay.
Every time I look at a checklist, I totally agree.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Any other questions?
I see no hands raised.
Received any written comments?
We've received no written comments.
And anyone from the public? Raise your hand or forever hold your peace on this item.
I see no one from the public raising their hand.
Okay. Thanks, Christina. Thank you, Matt. So this is an action item and we'll take action at the end of the meeting on this one. Next item on the agenda is informational item also presented by Matt. This is an overview of the 2023 Congestion Management Program level service monitoring report component for circulation and review.
Well, I've got some slides. It's really just what's in the staff report, just so you can see it on your screen. So as I mentioned, and we're already talking about, we do this monitoring of the CMP network every 2 years when we're doing our CMP update. It occurs every spring of the odd year, and at those 65 intersections across the county, except for Southwest, and on all the freeway segments. And just to note, we extended our freeway monitoring this cycle to include the segment of Highway 4 down to Balfour, because that's now been upgraded to freeway standards south of Sand Creek Road. Let me start. So here's a look at that CMP network. The intersections in blue and the freeways in red. And I just realized I haven't updated my map all the way down. Oh no, maybe that is Balfour. Maybe not. I'll get the map updated, but it is in the report. So we do this. We hire a firm this year. It was TJKM, and they analyze the freeways using INRIX, which is provided to us by MTC. It's a big data source that basically, uses roadway sensors and other methods to collect speed data on the freeways. So we use that speed data to determine the level of service on segments around the county. And so the results in 2023, and I apologize, one of my main comments back to our consultant will be to increase the width of the lines on here, because you can barely see the red, which are the level of service F, but I've tried to highlight them with these blue circles. But basically, in the AM peak period, we have 4 major segments of freeway that are LOSF. They're probably not surprising to anybody. It's the westbound 580 approach to the Richmond San Rafael Bridge. That entire thing was congested this morning. I-80 from around Highway 4 to the county line, and of course it continues beyond the county line, but we're reporting for Contra Costa. Then westbound 4 from Loveridge to Railroad to 242, and then 242 the entire length, basically Highway 4 to 680. There are some segments that aren't here in 2023 AM that were in 2021. And I think it might be westbound 24 approaching the tunnel, and there may have been a southbound segment on 680 in the kind of Alamo area, south of Walnut Creek. So we did see some changes between 2021 and 2023. Here's the PM peak period, 4 major locations again, that eastbound I-80 commute, but only up till about San Pablo Dam Road, not all the way to Highway 4. I mean, it's level of service E up there, but level of service F to San Pablo Dam Road. Then the eastbound 24 commute from Oak Hill to 680, the entire length of 242 again, just in the northbound direction. And then Highway 4 eastbound from 242 to Bailey. And while that's still level of service F, that used to extend all the way to 680. And with the opening of the interchange, Highway 4 680 interchange phase 3, which added that HOV lane eastbound. I think the HOV lane is eastbound. Anyway, it added a lane in each direction between Morello and Port Chicago Highway, and that did lessen the duration or the level of congestion, especially between Morello and 242. And so here's kind of comparing to 2021 and previous years, what kind of where we were at with level of service. And kind of my summary of this is that basically we have more E and F than in 2021. However, less than 2019 and 2017. And we have, I feel like it's just, we still have a lot of kind of low level of service, but and worse than last time, but not to the intensity that we saw before the pandemic. That's just a very, high level summary, but just based on the number of segments that were at LOSF. So then the intersections, these are monitored by our traffic consultants, generally mounting a camera on a pole and videotaping the intersection for 24 or 48 hours and collecting that data. And usually the technology they use counts automatically. And just to remind you, at the 65 intersections, we also collect the pedestrian and bicycle approach volumes at each leg, and we've been doing that since 2011. So that's something we just kind of do because we can, and it doesn't really cost much more for the consultants to do when they're out there. Their technology can count pedestrians and bikes as well. So here are those locations. We did not, I don't think we have any level of service F in the, oh, sorry. We may have one in the AM. Sorry. Go back to my report. Yeah, no, actually we had no intersections fall below their level of service threshold this time. So we do have some level of service F, just no intersections that fell below their threshold, because there's plenty of intersections that have a threshold of F. So they don't have to worry about falling below their threshold. We don't do F, minus, which, there are some intersections that are bad Fs. Yeah, that intersection that Leah pointed out is San Pablo Avenue at Barrett, which is right near the I-80 interchange there. So not a lot to say about this other than my takeaways from a similar chart comparing the level of service scores compared to previous years is that we've got more F than we did in 2021, but basically about the same or less than we did prior to the pandemic. But kind of what I've noticed is there's a lot more just kind of C and Ds, and not that many E's and F's. So, and it really, it's really kind of similar to what it was before the pandemic. But as you all know, it's more about the duration of the congestion and the time that congestion lasts, and the hours that it's creeping into the 1 and 2 p.m. hours, and those are not level of service peak period hours. Level of service peak period hours are 3 to 7 p.m. So this type of analysis is very I'll call it old school. It's a very simple way of looking at the system, but it's a way that we're all used to, and it's easy to understand. But it doesn't get at those changes to the network that we're seeing, mostly because of the pandemic and just the way that people are traveling now at different times. And even when they are traveling during the peak, it may not be on a work commute trip, which is kind of what the CMP legislation has always really focused on, is those commute trips. So let me go to my last slide here, which is kind of the main benefit I feel to the jurisdictions, and why I like to bring this to you, because we collect a lot of data out there and we make it available to everyone. So we've got the count sheets, the synchro sheets, all that available for you to use in traffic studies or whatever plans or whatever needs you have for both traffic data and that bike and ped data. We include these as the appendices of the report. I don't have those ready yet, but those will be published with the final report. Yeah, we'd be happy to take any comments on the report. We generally, the direction, I think the recommendation is to circulate for review. There's not a lot of people interested in the review of this, so I'd be happy to take feedback on who you think we should review this to. It's usually you guys, and sometimes we take it to the RTPCs if it's of interest. So I'll just conclude my comments and take any questions or comments that you might have.
Thanks, Matt. We have any questions from the committee? Leah?
I have one left that didn't get answered. So in the report, I'm looking at page 69, where they're talking about high occupancy vehicle travel times. It says here, it identifies segments where there's been time reductions. And then it says that there are 3 segments where the travel time is the same in both travel lanes during the AM and PM peak period. But for that, it doesn't cite the locations.
Oh, good point. Let's see, I think it may be in one of the later sections, because that's just in the introduction. Yeah, so
when I looked at the HOV stuff, there is a table, right?
Yeah, table
later
11.
on. I'm not sure where it is, but I think where it's counting like there's no change. I think sometimes there's no HOV lane at that period. Like what it might, for example, on 80 eastbound in the morning, the hours aren't, I don't think the hours are a HOV lane.
Yeah, they are in both directions.
They are? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some freeways that only have it in one direction, but I believe all of our freeways are both directions in both time periods. I don't know if you recall, several years ago, I think it was Representative Wicks was trying to remove it from the eastbound direction because she experienced it on her drives to Sacramento, congestion, or not congestion, but just maybe 55-mile-an-hour traffic in the eastbound lanes because folks couldn't use the fourth lane. But they never changed it.
So do you know what those 3 are?
Okay, so I'm looking at the table now. I'm just trying to let's see. Sorry, what was the criteria you mentioned?
It on that page in the introduction, like it gave the examples for the other things, but it didn't give the examples for things that had I guess
so we're looking for things that have deteriorated. Is that what
yeah, like I have no sense of if this is better or worse than it was in the past.
Oh, well, one point there. This is the first time we did monitoring of the HOV lanes as part of this.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't have that historical comparison. I mean, there are lots of Caltrans HOV lane reports, but we decided, hey, let's start doing floating car runs in the HOV lane just to start keeping track of that.
Okay, so maybe you just want to note that because it's like
good point.
Yeah.
Right, more background on the HOV monitoring.
Otherwise, you got all of my questions in the earlier item.
Hey, whenever works.
Okay, do we have any other questions from the committee on this item?
See no hands raised.
Okay. Do you have any written comment on this item?
We've received no written comment.
Okay. And nobody from the public is on. All right, thanks, Matt. We'll go ahead and move on if there's no other questions. So next item on our agenda is an informational item presented by John Huang to provide a status update on the California Public Utilities Commission Local Agency Technical Assistance Grant for the Contra Costa County Broadband Strategic Plan. That's a mouthful.
No kidding. A good evening, a good afternoon, Chair Dillard and committee members. John Huang, Director of Planning, and thank you for having us today to present this item. I only have 8 slides, and I just want to point out that the slides that I'm showing you now is slightly modified than the one that was in the packet, and Christina will be sending you the updated slides after the meeting. So I'm going to share my screen now. One second. Okay, you should see my slide. So again, I'm going to present on the broadband strategic plan, and this is really a project that looks at unserved and underserved communities. So the California Public Utilities Commission had a program back in 2021 to improve highway speed broadband services throughout California as part of Senate Bill 156. And one of those programs was called the LATA, which is the Local Agency of Technical Assistance. And in that program, they offered up $15 million statewide to local government and tribal entities for planning level costs and assessment of local needs and opportunities to expand broadband services to unserved and underserved communities. So in the county, there are unserved and underserved communities, and it's really kind of spread out throughout the whole county. In Contra Costa County, there are 335 eligible census blocks. That's how the CPUC identified these locations by census blocks. And CCTA applied for the grant and was awarded the grant for $500,000. And we actually started the project to develop the countywide strategic plan that will essentially create a roadmap for the implementation. And you may ask, why fiber, right? I think a lot of you are very familiar with fiber, and some of you may not be. Fiber optics enables high bandwidth transmission of data and video. It supports increased bandwidth in the future. CCTA is along with all the jurisdictions. We're always looking at implementing innovation and innovative technology in the future. So having reliable fiber really optimizes the transmission of information, especially when we're talking about videos and big data. And it can transmit this information over long distances. Fiber generally has low cybersecurity risk, and it's reliable and supports many uses. It's relatively easy to install, and it's easy to securely locate individual strands to widely diverse use, such as broadband traffic signal interconnect. As you know, CCTA is leading our countywide signal, smart signals project. So definitely having a countywide network eventually will facilitate better communication. And fiber can connect to various city facilities, including not only the City Hall, Public Works, but also schools, libraries, and also water facilities, water systems. So taking a step back, actually, we've been doing some preliminary work over the past couple of years, and some of your cities were interviewed through the process of developing the fiber optic communication network feasibility study. So we did like a phase 1 and phase 2, and essentially covering us East and Central County and the West County. So the document, actually, we used that to leverage to apply for the grant, and the document established a framework for a comprehensive fiber optic network that can be shared across multiple uses in jurisdictions. So here's an illustration of a countywide framework from the feasibility study. Our intent was to provide a connection through all jurisdictions in the county by leveraging roadway network to reach the connected neighborhoods. We intended to work with all the jurisdictions in the county, unincorporated county, to establish a foundation of fiber network, encouraging the internet service providers, ISPs, to use this network to access targeted unserved and underserved communities. So a lot of this stuff kind of fell into place when the grant came up. So next couple of maps, this is the census block map that I spoke earlier. Here's a countywide map that identifies the yellow, orange, and red that are our priority areas to improve broadband services. The red signifies the highest priority areas. And then this one, we added more layers to this map. The red line on this map indicates a statewide broadband infrastructure that will pass through Contra Costa County. Some of these already exist, a lot of them haven't been installed yet. But when it will be installed, it'll be installed by Caltrans. The other pins that you see on this map identifies connection in the distribution centers or distribution points between the statewide network and the local services. The blue pins reflects the preliminary fiber network that will be serving the backbone to provide future broadband priorities to the certain census areas. And then this network will expand as we develop the broadband strategic plan. So this is really in the planning phase. You see a lot of dots on these maps here, and then if you're familiar with the Smart Signals project, that's really where the signals are located along the major arterials and the intersections throughout the whole county. So just to conclude this presentation, the development of the plan is expected to take place over the next several months. I think 9 months. We have 18 months to actually complete it, but we think we can do a little bit faster. Kinley Horn is our consultant helping us with development of the plan. We will be engaging the stakeholders, all the cities and the jurisdiction over the next 6 months to help inform us of other needs for the fiber network. And we hope at the conclusion of this project it would align us to pursue other CPUC grants for actual construction and implementation of physical fiber. And I think those grant opportunities will be coming up in early 2024. That concludes my formal presentation. I do have an ask though. We don't do this in a silo at CCTA, so I would love to get a few volunteers from this group to participate in an advisory capacity to help us develop this plan. It's going to be a semi-formal, informal group. If you can provide a couple, 2 or 3 volunteers, that would be helpful for us. With that, I want to answer any questions you have. Thanks. I saw a hand earlier.
Thank you, John. Yeah, do we have any questions from the committee?
I see no hand. Oh, no, that says that I have 2 hands raised. So we
Okay.
have member Weeks and member Stamps. Would you mind taking down your presentation, pretty please?
Can I interrupt for a second? I'm sorry, I have to leave. And so if we need, I know we're tight on quorum, and so if we need a vote, can we, I don't want to leave you all and then not be able to have a vote. So I'm sorry, I'm up against the clock. I got to run to another meeting.
Can
Well, this
we,
presentation is a information.
This item is, but I know, but aren't we holding the other items that we were going to vote on? And maybe we now have a quorum without me. So
We can definitely take a roll call vote now. And then continue the discussion after.
okay, sorry to do this to everybody, but
great. So we'll need a motion and a roll call vote to approve the following items. It's item 4, approval of the consent calendar. Item 5B, approval of the 3-year project study report. And item 5C, approval of the 2023 congestion management program update for Contra Costa County. Can I have a motion, please?
so moved.
A motion by Committee Member Ballinger, can
Mhm.
I have a second?
Second by Jerry.
Okay, second by Jerry Fahey. Thank you, Jerry. Christina, can you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Member Ballinger,
Aye.
Member Chen,
Aye.
Member Diaz,
Aye.
Member Doe. I can't hear you, but I do see you trying to say.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Member Greenblatt,
Yes.
Member Fahey,
Yes.
Member Knapp,
Yes.
Member Reeves,
Yes.
Member Rawani,
Yes.
Member Stamps,
Yes.
Member Weeks,
Yes.
Chair Dillard,
Yes,
and Vice Chair Kursavan. Okay, the motion passes unanimously with the members we have present.
Thank you. Sorry I have to leave.
I appreciate you staying for the vote.
great. Thank you, Christina. So we'll go ahead and go back to item E on the status update on the strategic plan. We have questions. I believe we had committee members Stamps and Weeks had questions. So Jamar, would you like to go first?
I think Chris was first.
okay.
I think I was just by a millisecond. Good eyes. I just want to make sure that, John, that you've had a chance to touch base with our team here in San Ramon about our fiber optic network and some of our plans for expansion of it. And I know that there's a lot of big dreams here for even monetizing our network and using it in innovative ways. So just want to make sure we're talking with you and working with you on those things to make sure we don't get in each other's way. And we're going to need your help too to connect to the broader network. So are you talking with our city manager, Steven Spadowski, or who have you been working with here to coordinate?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Member Weeks. Yeah, so when I mentioned when we did the feasibility study, I think we spoke with San Ramon extensively. I have to go back to the report to see who actually was the individual, but I know San Ramon is actually far ahead of the game when compared to other jurisdictions. It's not a competition, but I know San Ramon has a lot of fiber in place, and we certainly want to work with the city in identifying, the network and leveraging that. I know, and we've talked to. I've personally talked to a private ISP, internet service providers that have looked at monetizing, their business. They want to, make money and so forth. And we're looking at like dark fiber, lit fiber, leveraging. I mean, if the cities or any city have fiber in place, we can certainly leverage that for the Smart Signals project specifically. Chris, if this is a sign of that you're volunteering for the advisory group, I would gladly accept that.
No, I'd love to do it. I don't want to, if there's someone else working with you, I don't want to get in their way. Because we've had a lot of work too from a couple different companies that have proposed installing fiber free of charge in innovative ways throughout the city, and we've heard pluses and minuses of all of those, and it'd be great to kind of share best practices and talk to other cities and make sure we don't make mistakes that other people have already made. So I'd love to be involved in it. If there's any interest from the committee putting me as one of those people, I'd love to volunteer.
Great. Thanks, Chris. There's one. Jamar?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, John, for the presentation. I actually was just going to volunteer too. Didn't have a question, so thank you.
That's fantastic. And then thank you, Member Stamps. I know the unincorporated, the county is very interested in fiber optics too, and unfortunately, I think you guys applied for it. wasn't successful in the grant, but we're here, we're here to work with the county on this project and certainly all the cities. I thank you again for being on this group, and you know, we certainly work with you on this thing.
No problem. Thank you. And yeah, that's why I volunteered, because I think I'd probably get my hand smacked if I didn't, since we do have an interest in it. Mr. Chair, I apologize. I do have to jump on another call right now, so I have to leave early too, but thank you and sorry for having to duck out early.
Thank you, Member Stamps, for stepping up. So there's your two volunteers, John. I have a quick comment. We've developed a fiber optic plan in Danville here, and I'm looking at your map here and seeing that it's proposed to circumvent parts of our city where we're going to be installing fiber, and this is going to be happening sooner rather than later. So although I'm not part of the group here, I would, or the working group, definitely like to stay in communication and make sure whatever we're putting in the ground is in step or could be useful to this effort, particularly when you're talking about your runs and your strands and the size of your fiber network. So happy to keep you posted on our efforts there.
Okay, thank you, Chair Dillard. And I know when I presented this at the board, Mayor Arnrich, you guys had mentioned that Danville was doing a lot of work.
Okay, do we have any other questions from the committee?
I see no hands raised.
Okay. Received any public, any written comment from the public?
We've received no written public comment.
Okay. Anyone from the public like to speak?
I see no hands raised.
Okay. Thanks, Christina. All right. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So last item is adjournment. Our next regular meeting is December 21st, 2:30 p.m. And we'll see you all then. It concludes our meeting at 3:49 p.m.
Chair Dillard?
Yeah.
Yes.
We just wanted to mention that the next TCC meeting will be held in person at our office.
Ah.
So moving forward, that's how it's going to be.
So the legislative action that allowed us to be virtual in these committees will end by end of the year, essentially calendar year. So the next time we're together is going to be 2024 because we don't anticipate having a December meeting. Just want to give you a heads up that allow travel time, unfortunately, the next time we meet. I know some of you travel from farther places than others, so just make sure to consider that when we meet next time, that there's travel involved. But happy to see you all in person and that you guys are real and in person at that office. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Christina and Stephanie. We'll see everyone in person in January. So.
Or later. Okay. Bye. Have a good holidays, I guess.
Thank you. Bye.